What's up everybody? I hope everybody is doing great. Today we are not going to be doing a pond video, but instead we're doing more of a show and tell, because we're not talking about this. Today we're talking about this guy right up here. Nice and tucked in between the trees, barely notice it's there. Once upon a time it was a playhouse, but today it's a water tower. First things first, we should take a look at these pipes that are coming out of the water tower. This pipe here with the valve is a manual drain, so I can store water in the water tower and then drain down into the pond. This larger 2-inch pipe is an overflow pipe, so that means when it's filling in the winter time and I have the valve shut off on the manual, that it will not just overflow all over the place, it will overflow into the pond. So inside, what I've done is daisy chained a bunch of barrels together. There's a total of 5 barrels attached to each other inside of here, 55-gallon barrels, which isn't a ton of water, but it's still pretty helpful. It is also a little bit messy inside because I do also store my aquaponics equipment inside here as well. So I've got my rafts up here is what you're seeing. Now, connecting these barrels together was extremely difficult. What I had to do was use these uniseals. So basically you drill the hole out for the specified uniseal, and I have 1-inch uniseals, and then you put the uniseal inside of the hole, and then you chamfer the edge of your 1-inch tube and you push that into the tube. This is the difficult part. It is hard to push this stuff in, hard enough on one side. If you try to push it into another barrel, it's extremely difficult. So what I had to do was create like a 12-inch tube, so it's sticking into each of these barrels quite a ways. After I pushed the tube into one side, I still had a good hand grip so that I can push the tube into the other side. Like I said, this was not easy to do, and it proved impossible to do on the last 2 barrels that I put into place. I just didn't have enough space to get in there and put pressure on it, and I already had the other 3 barrels connected to each other, so I could not do it this way. In this situation, I had to use a bulkhead fitting and attach it to the barrels, the 2 last white barrels that you see. And then what I had to do was attach a 1-inch fitting for a 1-inch pipe and then glue that into the last piece so that I could connect the last 2 barrels. So now let's go in to talk about how I'm collecting the water. So what I've done is created a downspout right here. There was not one in this corner of this house before, but what I did notice was that water was pooling in this corner, so it was lower than the other areas. I actually ended up plugging 2 other downspouts off completely so that all the water diverted into this side and clear on the other side of the house. So I have the water come down through this space, and then I divert it across and then cut it into the playhouse over on this side, where then I created a way to collect it by using 2 pots and a screen to make sure that debris doesn't fall down in there. Here I did have to cut out a much larger hole to get these 1-gallon pots to fit inside of there. This is 2 pots, but it's a good system and it's working pretty well. I do have to watch it closely every once in a while and go and check on it to make sure that I don't have a clog happening and then overflowing. So I clean this out every so often. How this guy works is I have 1 pot that I have cut the bottom off of, and then some just window screen material that I use in between the 2 pots. So the 1 pot's sitting here inside of the barrel. The other pot, I put the screen on it. I can just take this, the half of the pot and screen, put it under the downspout, and then wedge the screen down into place with my second pot. As you see here, when this valve is open, the water will drain out And obviously this would be the overflow. And I have it set up to roll over the top of this rock, but I can adjust the amount of water that's coming out here with my valve. Really want it to pour out, I can do that, or I usually just trickle it out though. But that's how this rainwater system works. In the summertime, I just leave this valve open because any rain that I get is needed for the pond. But in the winter time, I'll shut this valve because I've got so much water coming in. The overflow is usually filling it plenty enough. Fall time, springtime, that's when I'm really using this system a lot to counter any other water that I'm using. Alright, hopefully you guys got something out of this video. If you did, make sure you give that a thumbs up so that I know. And don't forget to subscribe because there's lots of great stuff coming. See you later.